Hello everyone. We are the days after our great holidays, Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Simchas Torah, and we concluded the month of Tishrei. And as the Rebbe always say, V'Yakov olach ledarkoi. That means from now we have to go on the road and bring the month of Tishrei into the year. I wanted to share something regarding this week's Parsha. It's Parshat Noach. In Parshat Noach we're learning a story after Noach came out of the ark after the flood. He brought offerings to God. And it says there in the Torah, when he, means Hashem, when he smelled the aroma of the offerings, God made an oath. He swore and he said that I will never bring a flood into the world. From now on, the world will be always stable. No changes. It's not going to be ups and downs. As the Torah says, Yomam v'layla lo yishboisu. And he gave that promise that the world will be every day, always the same. The same means it's not going to be a downer like it was before. Why, the way we'll learn, why did he give this promise is by smelling the smell of the offerings. That was 26 years ago, at this particular Shabbos, that our Rebbe said a mimer about this pasuk, very long and deep explanation. And something was very relevant at that time, that something happened in Krar Eitz. I'm not getting into the details right now. And it's very relevant to our times today. The Rebbe spoke about a midrash. The midrash says, when Hashem smelled the offering, the midrash said, it wasn't just that offerings that he smelled. He smelled the offerings of Avraham Avinu going into fire. He also smelled the offerings of Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah going into fire. And he also smelled the offerings of the generations later, where the Jews are persecuted, where the Jews went through their situation. And when God smelled all that, that's when God says, I give a promise for the world, that the world will be everlasting. It's not going to be changes anymore. So the Rebbe spoke about it. What was it that God had to smell all this Mesirut Nefesh of Avram, of Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, and all the Mesirut Nefesh of the years later, generations later, and that's what he made this decision. The decision looks like a simple decision, that he's not going to bring a flood anymore. And the Rebbe explained then that decision that God made, that no matter what happens, there will not be a flood. It's always going to be winter, summer, spring, fall, as the Torah tells us. It's always going to be the world continuing the same. This comes from the power of God. As the Torah says, Ani Hashem lo shaniti. That God is unlimited. God is everlasting. And that power of God himself, he gave to the world that he didn't give before. Before the world was a world. But things happened, it fell apart. God wanted to give now the promise to the world. The world should have the power of God. No changes. It's always staying the same. That's the power of God himself. How did God give this power? Wasn't enough, the Midrash says, because he smelled offerings of Noach. He saw the Mesirut Nefesh of the Jews, Am Israel, Avram, and so on and so called, till our generation. God said, for this Mesirut Nefesh, what Jews do, for this, what Am Israel goes through to be Am of Hashem, for that Hashem says, they should have the power of me, and that the world should be strong like Hashem is, always the same. In other words, what God saw, he saw our devotion to him, that they're ready to go for Mesirut Nefesh, for Hashem. And this is what Hashem gave the promise. And this is what Hashem gave the oath to Noach. The point the Rebbe spoke then, just by the way, was a lot of crying. I was there in that Shabbos, because something unfortunately tragic happened in Kronites that Shabbos. But it's a phenomenal Jew, I know him too, that unfortunately got killed that Shabbos morning. Maybe I'm making a mistake, I'm sorry. It was during the week before. One morning during the week, he went with his talis and tefillin, and something happened to him by a murderer. The Rebbe was crying in that Shabbos, and he spoke about it, and he says, yes, Hashem wants the Mesirut Nefesh of the Jew, and this is why Hashem gave us this commitment. But the Rebbe says, enough. We gave. We ready to go Mesirut Nefesh. But this should be the last thing of Mesirut Nefesh. This should be the last situation of physical a Jew has to, unfortunately, something negative happened to him. And this he said 26 years ago. He said the promise that Hashem gave to Noach because of our Mesirut Nefesh is already done. We gave it. Now he says we only have to have it in us. Potentially, we don't have to do it. When the Rebbe gave them the promise, Chaz v'Shalom, I should say promise, the Rebbe gave the bracha that it shouldn't happen again and again. We are sitting over here 26 years later, when unfortunately again situation happened, as we all know these days. And this is what we have to say. Yes, Hashem, in order to give us the promise, in order that Hashem gave the shvuah, the oath to Noach, because he smelled the Mesirut Nefesh of Am Israel. But the Rebbe's words are strong, and it's got to be strong today too, 26 years later. We gave it, but from now on, it's got to be only good. As the Rebbe would conclude, Ach tov v'chesed defunu, should only be good for Am Israel, should only be simcha for Am Israel. We should not need physical Mesirut Nefesh. It's enough that we have Mesirut Nefesh when we say Shema Yisrael. It's enough for Hashem, and this itself is good enough that Hashem should continue His blessings that He gave to Noach, that there will not be a flood anymore. Every all a good Shabbos, a great Shabbos. But remember that powerful word of the Rebbe. Mesirut Nefesh we need, but we don't need it in a physical way. It's enough to have it in a spiritual way. Hashem should give us, hopefully, a beautiful year with a lot of simchas. We should not hear any more sorrow, only good. Good Shabbos.